Good morning, everyone. My name is Sriram from the Commodity and Currency Research Desk at Reliance Securities. This is the Commodity and Currency Outlook for 25th August 2022. Starting with the energy side of things, international and domestic prices ended Wednesday higher after a volatile trading session on concerns that the US will not consider additional concession to Iran to restore the nuclear deal. However, gasoline futures crashed on Wednesday amid concerns on weak gasoline demand after the latest data showed a smaller than expected fall in US gasoline inventories. Looking ahead, prices can trade higher this Thursday after Saudi Arabia continued to suggest that OPEC will continue to consider cutting output if a deal is reached between the global powers and Iran on their 2015 nuclear deal. However, waning US petroleum demand could keep upside limited. So, range for MCX September contract for this Thursday's trade is anywhere between 7,400 on the lower side to 7,700 on the upside of things. Briefly on natural gas, domestic and international natural gas prices rebounded on Wednesday's trade, but lack of any major triggers in yesterday markets kept the markets extremely range bound. Looking ahead, prices can remain range bound this Thursday morning ahead of that key inventory data due tonight. So, range for natural gas in the domestic side of things will remain anywhere between 725 and 755 in today's trade. Moving to bullion, international and domestic gold prices remained range bound but ended the session with small gains, while silver internationally and domestically gave up gains and ended marginally in the red. The US dollar was off session highs while slightly weaker durable goods data also weakened the dollar yesterday slightly and lifted the bullion markets yesterday. Looking ahead, today prices could continue with small gains this Thursday ahead of that Fed Chair Powell speech later in the week. Of course, we have the US GDP number and the jobless claims, which can have an impact on the markets. But all eyes remain fixed on the speech from the Fed Chair Jerome Powell on Friday. Until that time, markets can remain range bound. The dollar index has started slightly on the weaker side this early morning on Thursday's trade, and can also support prices in this Thursday's trade. So range for domestic gold will be anywhere between 51,160 on the lower side to 51,700 on the upside of things in today's trade. On the base metals, copper domestically and internationally was weaker, weighed down by looming economic slowdown and its effect on the metal demand. COMEX aluminium surged higher in yesterday's trade as smelter closures reduced supply and lifted prices. Looking ahead, prices can remain range bound, both aluminium and copper. Again, the key data points, US GDP number and jobless claims, along with the US Fed chair speech this week will be the key trigger points for the markets. However, the euro area energy crisis, China's property and construction crisis, along with the possible US recession will be the key headwinds for copper over the next couple of trading sessions. But today's range will be anywhere between 670 on the lower side to 675 for MCX September contract for the copper side. Finally, on the currencies and bonds, the Indian rupee ended with small gains on Wednesday on exporter dollar selling and flows into the domestic equity markets. However, oil markets continue to strengthen. And again, weak Asian and emerging market peers kept the gains limited. Indian bond yields, however, ended higher for the fifth successive session as crude oil rose and raised fears of inflation remaining elevated for the domestic markets. In the overseas market, we saw that the dollar index eased from the highs while most of the non-dollar currencies remained range bound. But the US benchmark 10-year rose to fresh multi-year highs as investors squared off positions ahead of that Jackson Hole symposium. Looking ahead, the Indian rupee can continue to remain or continue to consolidate. This Thursday's session can start slightly on the stronger front. Again, dollar easing will lend support, but higher oil prices can keep the appreciating bias limited. Most of the Asian and emerging market peers have started with small gains this Thursday morning as investors look ahead to that Jackson Hole symposium. So that will be the key trigger for the currency market. Of course, in the domestic side of things, we have the monthly expiry as well. and that could also have a small trigger for the markets over the next couple of trades. So the rupee could open slightly stronger at 79.72, 79.74 versus a close of 79.80, and the range for the currency with this Thursday's trade will be anywhere between 79.60 to 80 on the upside of things for today's trade. On the dollar side, the range remains between 108.30 to 109.10 in this Thursday's trade. And again, GDP data today and claims data today will be the key trigger for the markets. So that's it from our side. Thank you for listening. Have a pleasant day. Thank you.